A brand split is upon us, but the question is, where do the titles go? We've currently got 5. Will the WWE add more? Will they let the titles go between the shows? Well, I'm going to talk about it in this video. I'm not going to just talk about it. We're going to discuss it. The King of Talking Style t-shirt. Let's discuss wrestling, available now at tubbyemu.spreadshirt.com, because we don't just tell you rumors. We discuss it and get logical feedback, and I can't honestly thank you guys enough for the support. I mean, reading your comments, I've never been so excited to read comments. Whether I agree with your opinion or disagree, we're discussing, and it's not turning into this you're wrong, I'm right type thing. We are actually discussing wrestling, and I'm so grateful for that. So if you want to support it, you want to get the shirt, feel free. There's 2 different versions. But enough about hawking the t-shirt, which is awesome, by the way. We're going to dive in and talk about the titles. So right now we have the big title in the company, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. You have the 2 undercard titles, the United States Championship and the Intercontinental title. You have the tag team titles, and then you have the Women's Championship. Now, here's the thing. I don't necessarily see right now, after WWE just debuted it, them creating a new Women's Championship right off the bat. Hey, I'm all for it. More women wrestling for more titles. Let's do it. I would love to have 2... I mean, heck, maybe even 3 pay-per-view matches down the road of women when you put on quality television. But for right now, I don't see that happening. Then you come to the other titles. Now, a common theme that I've seen between the titles is we should bring back the old World Heavyweight Championship. We should put one on Raw, one on SmackDown. I think that confuses people. Now, don't get me wrong. Big Gold is a great belt. There's a lot of history behind her. One, if they bring her back, John Cena's going to break the record. Do you really want that, or has he already done it? Let's discuss that. But when you have 2 titles now, I think the one big one, the biggest title in the game, whether it's Roman Reigns, whether it's Seth Rollins, whoever it is, there should be one top guy. Now, I'm all fine with having, say, another title like the World Heavyweight, but it should be the stepping stone. Like, if you're the World Heavyweight Champion on SmackDown and you want to step it up to the big show, you go up for Roman Reigns' title. Now, the other option that people have talked about is elevating one of the mid-card titles. Okay, you have the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw. On SmackDown, you have the Intercontinental or the U.S. Championship, and one of those is the top title, which I would be perfectly fine with. There are so many ways WWE can go. There's a lot of titles that we used to have, the hardcore, the tag titles, and I'm not going to get into the variations of like the Skull and the Brahma Bull titles or anything like that, or the NWO versions, but you had the Cruiserweight, you had the European Championship. There's a lot of titles. But here's the thing. Right now, WWE is not properly utilizing the champions they already have. So for me to say, okay, I want the Cruiserweight Championship back, I don't think that's fair. I would like a Cruiserweight Championship and say something on SmackDown to see a lot of these high-flying indie guys that you're kind of seeing in NXT right now down the road. Once we know the writing teams are solid and that what title gets added or what title gets presented on TV is now this big deal, has to have the writing behind it to support it. Just throwing in another title and saying, okay, we have a Cruiserweight title. Well, guess what? Let's just say off the top of our head, Austin Aries down in NXT. He comes up and he wins the Cruiserweight title. Small guy. Perfectly fine with it. But unless we know that they have dedicated teams that are not going to screw this up, just adding more titles, I don't personally think solves it. I mean, do you guys think that personally solves it? I don't know. When it comes to the other titles, the tag team titles and the women's championship, if you keep only one of them, now I've seen a lot of discussion and talk on the internet about maybe they should bring back a double set of tag team championships, which, to be honest with you, I would be okay with, again, if it was utilized properly. Because WWE does have a lot of tag teams coming up. I mean, you have American Alpha, you have the Revival, you have the Vaudevillains on TV right now, you have the New Day. There's a lot of quality tag teams with Enzo and Big Cass, the Dudleys. There's a lot of people that could fight for these titles. TMT 61. There's a lot that, could challenge for these. Like, I like Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa's tag team. Man, when their finisher, when they took out Mike and Shane the other night, and their finisher, I was like, dude, that's sick. It was a super kick and a knee to the face. So if the tag team division is stacked, if you include the NXT divisions, 2 titles would be fine because you have probably 7 or 8 teams vying for those titles, versus if you split it up, you have maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 tag teams on each show vying for a title. So in that case, it would be okay. Based on the current, I mean, I forgot the Shining Stars too. I'm sure somebody's going to bring up, Tubby, you forgot the Shining Stars. Oh, man, the Shining Star of the Caribbean. Even though 100 people plus a day are defecting from the Caribbean because the government right now is in huge trouble and whatever. So you have these tag team titles, right? Now, I remember back to the days of the 2 with Davey, Tyson, Natalya, Miz and Big Show, Jericho, Jeremiz. I mean, there's a lot of things that WWE could. Why did I just say Jeremiz? Was Jeremiz ever a tag team? Why? No, Show Miz and Y2 Show. That was just a brain fart right in my head. I'm sure somebody's going to say something in the comment section below about that. Jeremiz? Was that a thing? I think it should be a thing. Maybe I'm wrong here. But the tag team titles, all for it. I'm all for having more teams come in and fight for them. Now, if you have the tag team titles on one show, I don't think it's going to work. I think maybe the champions can go between shows. Because let's say you fight one week on Raw and you win. And you go to Raw and you lose. And you're like, whoa. The tag team champions lost to a SmackDown superstar. What the heck? And the Raw tag team start to have animosity. Like, no. I want to face you to be the number 1 contender because I know I could beat them. The heck with the team on SmackDown, right? That's where things could get confusing, especially in the tag team division with the amount of people that are in it. By in it, I mean 2 people instead of a 1 person, or in the case of New Day, 3. But then, besides the tag team championship, you have the women's championship. We are trying to elevate women's wrestling. Now, here's the thing. I brought it up earlier. I would love to have at minimum 2 matches on a pay-per-view card dedicated to women with proper storytelling. Not the old, diva storylines, nothing like that. Actual wrestling, things that make sense. Now, if you have an actual wrestling match, like say you put Charlotte versus Sasha on SummerSlam or something like that, and then on the card you also have something else that's a blow-off, six women or something like that, okay. But every match that should be on there should be a big fight feel, especially now with a brand split. So these pay-per-views shouldn't have filler matches anymore. And we're going to talk about that too coming up with pay-per-view matches, that pay-per-view matches are going to change. And I'm not going to touch on the rumors right now about possibly having 2 announced teams, 2 pay-per-view at the same pay-per-view, which I think is cool. They go back to the history. I'm all for it. But like I said, when you add the more titles, you get a little wary. So they just debuted the Women's Championship. What would they debut as a secondary title to the Women's Championship? Would they have the Junior Women's Championship or something like that? I mean, if you look at New Japan, if you follow New Japan at all, maybe you do, maybe you don't. They have a lot of titles. You have the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. You have the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. You have the Neverweight 6-man that the Elite has. You have the tag teams, the juniors, the heavyweight tag team champions. So they do divide it up by weight class. And I don't know if that's necessarily something that WWE could do right now. Just as of right now. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't do it down the line, but like I said, all this depends on whether or not the show can be written properly and is enticing to watch. Because if you have 2 tag team titles and one of them is okay, the other one sucks, you're going to, okay, that show is better, right? You want to foster that competition. So if one tag team is a SmackDown tag team wins the championships and they're kind of hot tagging back and forth, because you're not going to show up on every show, nor should you, okay? So let's say I'm a SmackDown tag team champion, and I head over to Raw, and I beat the Raw tag team. And then I come back to SmackDown, like my example I gave earlier. There shouldn't be just the tag team champions from SmackDown coming back if they lost on SmackDown to Raw to face somebody else. The tag teams on Raw should be competing amongst themselves to then, no, we can do it. We can beat them, something like that. And like I said, I don't know how it would work. I don't know. In that case, when you think about it, it's probably better just to have 2 titles. Now, the women's championship, though, Charlotte's got the title. A lot of people are complaining that Sasha isn't doing anything. The rumors about her having a concussion, being out. This will lead to a SummerSlam match, guys. Be patient. I called after Mania. I said they're probably going to have a blow-off feud with, like, Natalya, or I joked with Alicia Fox or the Bellas before they retired, that you throw them in there, have them lose, kind of signaled the new era. Okay, I took out Natalya. She's from the old era. I took out Alicia Fox. She's from the old era. All this stuff. Now comes Bayley. Now comes Sasha. Now comes Becky Lynch. Now comes the heavy hitters of today. You have to be a little patient for that. But if it's me, and I'm looking at all these titles, I think you keep one's women's championship for right now because they don't pay enough attention to the division. It's true. Women's championship can go between both shows, in my opinion. Tag team championships, I would keep it as one to foster the competition between the shows, with them at least having a home show, but then venturing off to the other one occasionally. Now, I would put the World Championship on one of the shows, on Raw or SmackDown, and then I would have them go between, but very limited. So if there's 4 Raws and SmackDowns a month, no more than twice a month. Very limited. You want to make those appearances feel huge. You want to save that for like IC champion versus World Heavyweight champion. Now, me personally, I would prefer the IC title as the big one on SmackDown compared to the US title. Some people have said the US title. Personally, I would prefer the Intercontinental Championship. Both titles have some history. If you go back to the WCW US Championship and you look at them, and that's kind of where I'm leaning. I would have the tag team, the women, and the world champion kind of go between a little bit, not too much, limited twice. Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown is their bigger title, or maybe a new title, maybe Big Gold. Like I said, it doesn't have to necessarily not be Big Gold. I just think, they could work around it. Last thing, Cruiserweight Championship, once the division is set and once the titles mean something, throw it on SmackDown. And possibly on Raw instead, because if Raw is 3 hours, they would have more time for a Cruiserweight division, unless you want the Cruiserweight division to be the staple of SmackDown. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below regarding the titles. Where do you want to see them end up? If you have a discussion like we brought up about the complications between them, who knows where things can go. If you want to support the discussions, or if you just want to buy the shirt so you can go around to your fans, your friends, anybody you know, and be like, yo, let's discuss wrestling, feel free to get it. Until next time, it's your boy Tubby Emo, and we'll see you all later.